Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. I think that's past. Festivus. Festivus for the rest of us, as George Costanza would say. Festivus is your heritage. It's not mine, but I totally get it. Good to see everybody. Good to be here. I am glad you have joined us as people are coming in. It's December 20th, 5:01 here on the West Coast. Earthquake Central, here we go. And I would like to introduce to you, you may know him from the interview room. Some of you may not know him at all, but I doubt it, because he is the one, the only host of the interview room, Chris McDonough, my friend. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Josh, aloha, buddy.
How you
I heard
doing?
you shook it up today.
Man, did I ever? It's been an odd day from the get-go. You know, we're sitting in the living room, me and my family. I got Otis, my little pup, and I'm sitting there and I'm holding him. And all of a sudden, the room starts to, first what you hear is the loudness. It was loud. So you're going, is that a garbage truck? Or is that a freight train coming through?
Wow.
And then everything starts moving back and forth. And what happens when that, in my experience with earthquakes, is you sit there and you just you hold on, and to see if it's going to be quick, if it's going to go away soon, if it's going to just keep going. And it kept going it was like 30 seconds of legitimate shaking. And at one point you're kind of going, do we need to get up and leave the house, like get into an open space? What do we got to do here? But the thing is, like, we're all natives, right? So we've been through earthquakes before. But I will tell you, this may have not been the most powerful earthquake, but it was the most powerful with the time, how long it lasted. That was the longest earthquake I've ever been a part of. And when they come and go fast, you kind of go, okay, well, yeah. When they go like that, there's nothing you can do. And you just kind of hold on and just hope that everything's going to be okay. So we're totally fine up here. Some windows broken. Not like in our house or anything, but downtown, big windows, and part of a building, an older building, might have collapsed, but no injuries reported. So just a lot of people that got a little scared,
Wow.
You ever been in an earthquake?
Yeah, I have. And you've nailed it. They're pretty, pretty scary sometimes. And I've been in both earthquakes and tornadoes because years ago I did a stint in Tennessee for a little bit, around Franklin area in Middle Tennessee. And I'll tell you what, coming from California, Hawaii before that, I don't do tornadoes, and hurricanes are not fun either. And so, hey, thank you so much for having me here tonight. I mean, I get to meet your family, and hopefully my family's over here as well, supporting you. And I'm just jazzed that you asked me. I know you're a classy guy, and I'm just honored to be here for you and discuss what's going on.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on over here and talk with me. It means a lot. And I I've been a fan. Like I said, we've done a couple kind of, I wouldn't say jumbled shows, but just you and I mean, we've never just talked one-on-one before.
Yep.
And, it's exciting to have you, because the experience that you bring is invaluable to this community. And I've learned a lot. And if it weren't for you, I probably would have never heard of the Summer Wells case, which I somehow, some way have found myself entrenched in it through no design plan. It's just kind of the way life happens, I guess, sometimes. And now, while I'm not, an investigator or, a police officer, I do cover stories, and I have important ones.
Yeah.
And that was all really I was going for. And then this case became so convoluted. I came in after Maya Milete and Barry. I came in after all that was basically. I was here when Larry Miliete was arrested, but I wasn't for the first, 6-7 months. I had heard of the case. I've talked about the case some, but I learned most of what I know from news articles and your show, The Interview Room, which is top-notch production, thanks to D-Mans and Karen. And then they put you on there, and you're the guy.
Yeah, I'm like a congressman. Yeah.
It's
we'll
like,
tell you what to say.
It's like, what president does the president really run the United States, or is it the CIA?
Yeah,
Dills and K-Dog are the CIA.
Yeah.
And you're the president. You're just a temporary guy,
That's right. I'm very replaceable. I mean, we saw that, you just never know what happens in today's world. And by the way, I absolutely love all your people over here. I see, the folks are saying hi. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for, coming over. Hopefully it's for Josh, and we'll be able to learn a lot together. And by the way, you're very humble. I appreciate your kindness and your compliments, but you've accomplished quite a lot in your time too. As a, you're a real pro behind the mic, and so I've learned a lot from you. As we continue to give to each other, and that's really what it's about, right? I mean, as we focus on our skill sets and then bring them together, we can have a chat like this, and keep it way above the line where people go, okay, I picked up something, or I know something, I want to make a phone call, and the reason is because I saw it on the lab or TIR or wherever, right? I mean, that's the goal here.
Well, I appreciate that. I noticed when I came into the YouTube community, there wasn't a lot of soundboards going on. And
I blame you for that.
And it seems like there's soundboards everywhere now. And I love that, because I think, from me just doing podcasts and stuff like that, sound effects, little drops here and there. It's all about the production for me. And, you want to be entertaining, but you don't just want to be entertaining. You want to be informative, and you also, if need be, you want to be serious, and you have to be serious, and you have to be able to kind of guide that, the ship. And the thing about that is, I've really spent the better part of 6 or 7 years really trying to and I'll never perfect it, but trying to transform my craft of being a host of shows. This isn't the only show that I host. I do other shows. I have another show that I worked on for so long, 2 shows actually before that. It was the No Big Deal podcast, which took off beyond anything that I ever imagined. but I'll tell you what, I worked really, really, really hard for no money whatsoever because it was a passion of mine. This is a passion of mine. Uh, Broadcasting, interviewing. I love it. I love every bit of it. And I'm happy that our paths crossed. But I also love to do documentary work. One of my favorite, it's one of my more, that's more of the slow burn kind of work that we do. And, you know, you guys over at the interview room do put together some little mini docs, you know, and I love that. I love that about, because you're Dylan is a talented young man. I've seen his work, and he keeps your show going, you know, and he's probably taught you a ton.
A ton. I mean, and you really see his gift when, you know, like when you and you know Doug are together. I mean, it's hysterical. Okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you're a little you're like Laurel and Hardy, but you're kind of okay. I got to keep it over here, and he's just like funny 24/7, 365, any
yeah.
other direction. Okay, well, you know that's just not me. You know,
No,
I don't have that. I don't have that ability, but I love it about both of you. And Dylan, you know, has commented a couple times about, you know, Dad, maybe one day I want to go this route, but you know, you really see his gift when you look at the production he put together about Buddy for Christmas, and he did that last year, and when we were stable, not moving in the airstream, and I put it up, you know, just a couple, you know, a week ago to wish everybody, you know, happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And that's when you really see, okay, you know, Karen and I stepped back for a little bit and said, wow, this guy. And you, by the way, I know you communicated with him a couple times and gave him some hints. I blame you for the soundboard that showed up because, you know, he said, Dad, you got to get some sound. And but you know, here I am sitting in my truck hoping the cops don't come up and knock on my window and saying, "What are you doing?" Uh,
yeah.
because I don't have any Wi-Fi, right? I've got to go near a tower, but um, it's just you guys have a gift. You have a gift. I'm just an old gumshoe that you know knows how to do a couple of things on that end.
Well, the funny thing is though, when I watch your show, and before I ever knew you, it's not that you were never, you're always entertaining in the fact of, if say what you feel you lack in broadcasting skill, which by the way, even in the last 5 or 6 months you've gotten better,
I'm learning.
but you have knowledge, and knowledge is interesting. So it doesn't really matter how you pack knowledge in. People soak that up, and you were never. There are people that are just flat out terrible. They're just bores. They're anybody can have a show now, and a bunch of adults, like, bleh, and then people go, oh, that's pretty good, and then you go, but you're not even a mid-level. I mean, you have a legitimate gift of talking, communicating, and getting your point across to people, and that's why you've had the success on YouTube that you had, and which I'm sure you never dreamed that it would turn into that.
No, and I didn't. I mean, as my my intent has been and still is, you know, I initially made a commitment to Mike to come on, and we were going to talk about Brandon Wilson, which we did, and then you know that just kind of caught a different room, right? And then we get to the point where he says, hey, you know, why don't you try this? And so Karen said, you know, if you want to do it, I'll support you. And so we did, and we thought, okay, well, you know, let's start with what we know, because I had a lot of behind the scenes information on our boy over in Colorado, Barry, and I held on to it, which is one of the things that I'm good at. My nickname in the PD was called the Vault, because you know they would tell you that I wasn't going to say anything, And years ago, when I first met Karen, she called me for over a year. She was a journalist, investigative journalist in San Diego County, and I never returned her phone calls. And she'll tell you the whole story. Okay, for over a year, until she called my boss, and she told my boss that I wouldn't return her calls because I was working murder, and she wanted the story. Anyway, she got me in trouble basically, and that's kind of how we met. And it was that piece of the puzzle. But you know, we're dealing with real lives here, and yeah, I've made mistakes. I have made mistakes. I'm sure it will make more mistakes. This community or this YouTube thing, I'm finding is a blood sport, right? And it shouldn't be, in my opinion. And that's why I don't do any of the craziness. I don't have time for it. I got a phone call today from another father whose son is missing. And, I'm going to have him up pretty soon. We're going to talk about it, break it down. And then I know guys like you, like other channels, everybody will go, okay, this is another situation that we can help in.
Mm.
Uh, I've got them with cold case right now, meeting with some people. And so those are the kind of things that, I know that's my lane. So I'm learning this. And I hope I'm bringing at least quality uh, discussion and or content to all those that trust us.
Well, close to 100,000 people can't be wrong, because people do, for all the negative that we receive tenfold in the positive. And I've been really working on my own, trying to stay in the positive, because it's easy to get caught in the negative. And I had a really bad habit of taking 10, not ignoring 10 positive things, but really focusing in on that one negative instead of the positive feedback that I get. And when I started to realize that, my whole world on YouTube really started to change. And I kind of just let go of that kind of stuff. I just let go of the filth and the playing in the mud. Because I can do it just as good as anybody. I can argue just as good as anybody. I can be a jerk if I really wanted to be, but it really isn't in my nature to be a mean person. And I was kind of thinking, well, maybe this is what it takes to survive around here. Maybe this is what it takes. But it's not.
It's not.
What it takes to survive around here is to try to make a difference and not worry about the people's opinion of you who don't do anything for you, who don't water your garden with you, and then you in turn water somebody else's garden, because that's what friends do. That's how people stick together. And it's more about love. It's more about positivity. I mean, I read something today and it said, maybe we can all try something in the new year. I'm not talking about here on YouTube. I'm just talking about in general. Maybe we can try to show more respect to people. We can try to not go for the low blows. We can try. Why can't we at least try? Because I feel like sometimes we don't even try. And Chris, just as well as I do, it can be easy to get caught up and distracted. And then all of a sudden what happens? Well, we're not putting any resources into what we're supposed to be doing. And that is trying to make a difference. And it's frustrating when people say bad things about you, but you have to balance that out with the people who do love you and appreciate you. And I know that a lot of people love and appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't lose any sleep over them personally, but I do ask myself there's an old saying, from the old journalistic world, right? when you become the story becomes lost. And Summer is the story, Maya is the story, Kelly is the story, Suzanne is the story. Aloha, Maui girl. Mele Kalikimaka, as they say in Hawaii. Merry Christmas.
Hanalanana Manaleka.
She,
I speak a
my,
little
my
bit.
one of my old friends says umu umu huku huku, right? And they do this thing here, and it's like,
Have you seen that movie 50 First Dates
no,
with Adam Sandler? They're on the Hawaiian island. It is so funny.
it's hysterical, But a funny tidbit on that, not to get sidetracked, and I'll let you get to what you're talking about. I was one of my good friends is a guy named Keenan Kanahele, and another friend, Richard Tialavia, who's Samoan. Keenan's Hawaiian, Richard's Samoan, and they asked me to play guitar in an all Polynesian group because they are missing a guitar player one night, and they said, "Hey, they called me Chemo." Maui will understand. Okay, I was the only white guy in a cast of 56 Polynesians, right?
Yeah,
So when it came time for the joke, okay, uh, they it was a
it was you.
yeah, it was a dancing show, right? And I just sat in for some set. But anyway, long story short, it was hysterical, and uh, I just love the Polynesian people. I was just so grateful to have an opportunity to have that, and I've tried to carry that in my life. And to your point, there's enough hate out there. I mean, for goodness sakes, we're talking about murder, or we're talking about missing children. Why do we have to beat each other up at the same time? Let's just focus on the children and the victims, and maybe we can make a huge difference, because I believe there are a lot of smart people that follow these channels, and they've got a lot more answers than me, or quite frankly, you or others, and they can probably help to where we could become the conduit to where law enforcement is watching it. And that's been my vision, that you know and I use DW as an example. When he called me, I mean, that's like a gift. Okay, when somebody calls you and says, yeah, I did do this to my stepsister. Okay, but we were younger. Really? Okay.
Right.
Now, can you imagine that in an interview room, and you as a detective didn't have to read Miranda, you didn't have to get a search warrant, you didn't have to do any of that. You just press play on YouTube. Okay, that's the power of this platform if we do it correctly. Okay, that is the power. And for that, people don't like it. Criminals don't like it. They hate it. Uh,
Yeah, you're 100% correct. When somebody when they kind of do the work for you, uh, DW openly admitted that to you, which was, and you're going, wow. How do you defend something like that? I mean, once the cat's out of the bag, the genie doesn't go back in the bottle, or the lamp. It's just not how that works. I mean, once it's out, it's out. And then you saw when that happened, the spin starts.
oh yeah,
Well, this and this. Nothing was taken out of context. Not one thing was taken out of context. You can spin it a million different ways. It all comes back to that initial phone call. And then you have people who back these stories up. And law enforcement, like you said, would take this and go, thank you. We're going to lock this one into a secured server, and we'll just wait till we need it. And the people always question, well, am I helping? I've done that to myself before. Am I helping? Am I hurting? What am I doing? Am I spinning my wheels? Why am I here? I've even questioned that on my show myself, going, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if this is my lane. I could do 10 different things. I could do sports. I could do weather if I wanted to. I could do whatever,
yeah,
comedy, this or that. And I do a little bit of all that. But at the same time, my passion has always been to help people. You know, when I worked with victim witness and talked to children who had gone through domestic violence situations and had lost a parent, that to me, when I could tell a child that I was, and that I could see that, you know, we've gone through the same things, and they look at me and they go, well, like, look at him. Like there is hope. I'm not a perfect person, but I tried to turn what little bit I had into something, because you really start out in a really negative way in life when something like that happens to you, but it's not impossible. Like I said this on my show the other day, being a good person's a choice. Everything else works itself out. And, you know, people don't know probably a quarter of what you do. Maybe they don't even know more than that. You know, they probably know 10% of what you do on the screen. 90% nobody knows. Nobody will ever know about the stuff that you do, and some of the stuff that I do. You know, victim witnesses. I don't know if you've ever heard of that program before.
Oh, sure.
But it is such a fantastic organization, and I'm so proud to have been a part of it, and it helped me in my life as well.
Yep.
And to be able to give back to those young kids who feel hopeless.
Yep.
Like, my whole family was ripped away. Well, buddy, I know exactly how that feels. And as much as it's going to hurt you the rest of your life goes on, and you can become stronger, and you can make a difference, because you see life different. You just do. All the things that you've seen. You know, the other day you told me the reason homicide detectives have a mustache was because you could put Vicks on it when you had to go to a murder scene. Yeah. Right. I always go, why would they have those ferrets on their face? It looks horrible.
Well, first of all, it was mandatory equipment back in the day. But for detectives, you know, even though they look, you know, Karen hated it, but it was necessary because, you know, if you had a body that had been, you know, decomposing for quite some time, you could take, you know, the Vicks and put it on both sides of your mustache, and when you went in, you know, you're inhaling the Vicks, you're not smelling the, you know, the decomposition. So right. That was an old trick. Another trick was we had a card, okay, and it was just a business card that said "my card" on it, just "my card." You flip it over and it says "my card," and you'd get these, you know, hardcore criminals. They're not going to talk to you, you know, yada yada. Well, you'd say, "Look, if you change your mind, let me give you my card." And I'd reach in my pocket and I'd hand them the card, and they'd flip it over and it would say "my card." Okay? And that's exactly the result that you would get. Even criminals have a sense of humor, right? And so they start laughing. It's like, you know, what's this, dude? I said, look, I know you're never going to call me if I hand you my regular card, but you will remember the guy that handed you my card. Now you change your mind. Now I give him my real business card. They say, you ring me up.
I love that. That is, there's all these little different tactics that I've even, when I'm watching your show, as you're explaining how you've dealt with criminals, and by the way, 96% solve rate, that's high. That's high for any detective.
It was okay.
And what's that?
It was okay.
Well, but the point of it is you didn't just solve crimes overnight, though, right? I mean, you were diligent. You did your due diligence. You took your time if you had to. You couldn't rush things. And one of the things that I've learned from you when being so involved in a certain case is...
You can say it.
What do you mean?
No, the case, if you want. I don't...
No, I'm just talking about patience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm just talking about how I've learned from you. You're very patient. Everybody else, including me, you know, we kind of go, "Oh God, did you hear about that?" And then you're kind of the last one to even come to the table and go, well, let's just kind of let this play out, or let's let that play out. And sometimes I go, no, what are you talking about? Like, this is just, like you would say, stay the course, just stay patient, stay diligent. And as I've looked at other cases of missing children, they take time.
Yes.
Now, that's a perfect segue, because I do want to talk about the Summer Wells case, because that is, in my opinion, right now, I feel like the case is heating up. I just do. I don't know. I don't have anything that suggests that it is. I just feel like there are movements. The new searching, I just feel like there's stuff happening. And let's go all the way back. What do you got there?
Ginger
ale.
I was going to bring Mountain Dew, but it would probably eat my teeth away. So I don't do that. But I do ginger. I knew Mountain Dew would
Sandra!
flip the table over. Okay, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
I apologize.
that's very boomer of you, by the way.
Very boomer. Exactly.
My tummy hurts. I'm gonna have some ginger ale.
Hey, I don't let the old man in. Nobody knows how old I am, really.
Ginger ale is actually pretty good. Actually, it's. But no, it's very boomer of you.
Things are moving. Things are moving. You left off. Things are moving.
Things are moving, and I want to go back to that day that she went missing. June 15th it's kind of an infamous day now, and we're 6 months in, and we know just about as much publicly now as we did then about the actual disappearance. Not so much about the characters involved. That stuff has started to expose itself. The outer ring has exposed itself, and now it seems to be kind of closing, meaning, where are all the other suspects? Where are the where's this child, the trafficking ring? Where is this? Where's that? Where's the abduction? Law enforcement maintains no signs of an abduction. Could she have wandered off? It's possible, but I'm pretty sure that she would have been found if that's something that would have happened with the extensive searches that were going on. One thing that I have been curious about is local law enforcement when they responded to this case. These small town sheriffs, and nothing personal, nothing against them, they're just not really used to these kind of cases, right? Like, that doesn't happen every day. And so I'm not saying, I don't know if there were mistakes made, if there weren't, or whatever. I'm sure there's always mistakes, and I'm sure there's points where if they could go back and redo something, they would. Talk about the response from a local sheriff's office, what they're really dealing with when somebody goes missing like this.
The initial response, so pretty much everybody goes through the same process in relationship to what you learn in the academy. Then post academy, you take some training classes, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And it's basics 101. When you get there, you have a 3-hour timeline, and that 3 hours is critical for the first responding officer on the scene. So if you think about it like this, when the first 911 call comes in, we hear a couple of different narratives. One, we hear the mother said that she'd gone on a walk. We hear that, well, no, maybe the daughter, walked out, etc. But that 911 call, or the dispatch that's released to the public currently, you can hear in the dispatcher's voice, she knows that this is going to be, a real kick in the pants here. I don't think anybody in any agency across the country, and I certainly had never, completely experienced, the understanding of how quickly these things can move. Right? And what I mean by that is how when you get on scene, you have so many moving parts. Police officers and a homicide detective, as an example, statistically, they say within the first 15 minutes on the scene, just when the detective gets there, you make almost 400 critical decisions that have to be right. Okay? There's no second chance. Okay? Because at some point, it will end up in a court of trial. Okay? In a court of law on trial. Okay? So a good investigator and patrol and or team immediately compresses the investigation and slows it down. Okay. In this case, we see almost immediately there was no room to compress the investigation because we're talking about a child who potentially could have walked away, she could have been abducted, and the list goes on, right? When the first officers get there. So you hear in that first 911 call where the dispatcher asks the supervisor, should we notify certain people? And he then passes it off up the chain of command to make that call. I'm assuming that was, the Hawkins County Search and Rescue, maybe the feds, maybe TBI, because they had all of those resources en route pretty quickly. So my hat's off to them in the from the get go because they didn't know what they had. And I know that was a long answer, and I apologize. But
It's a perfect answer, Chris. You're the guest here. People want to hear you talk, so that's what it's a perfect response because you need that kind of help. If you have somebody, think about that. There is a difference too. If you have somebody that goes missing, say it's a full-grown person, obviously their body's bigger. It's harder to carry. It's harder. I know this is a trigger. I don't want people to get upset. I'm just stating the actual physics of it. It's much easier to get rid of a smaller person than it is a bigger person. That's just how it is. But not only that, Summer doesn't have a digital footprint.
right.
Summer doesn't have credit cards. Summer doesn't have a car. Summer goes everywhere with her parents that they want her to go. She doesn't have a routine. Her routine is their routine. And so not only is it harder to find a little missing child physically, but through data, you don't have much at all. And the little that we have had, the TikToks, the Facebook posts, there is just not a lot going on. And that just makes the investigation so much more difficult. Kaylee Anthony, no digital footprint.
Right.
Okay. You can't, when does her cell phone? Maya had a very big digital footprint with a routine. Why would she go and she talked to her family every day? She texts them every day, and that all of a sudden stops. Her car, her bank, right? So then you're going, no proof of life. There's no proof of life. Well, there wasn't really that much other than Summer just kind of being around,
Right.
And so talk about how much more difficult it is in your experience of trying to find a missing child. Is it that much more difficult than trying to find somebody like, say, a Maya, who, by the way, still has not been found?
Right.
And please pray for that family. Pray for Mary Chris and her family. They are special people. They really, really, truly are special people.
Yeah. Well, with children, of course, there are always much more time sensitive in relationship to, statistically. And then So quickly, you want to motivate everybody fast on the law enforcement side, and you do that through the radio. Okay, we had an old saying: "Is you can't outrun the radio." Okay, so even though you don't see resources, those resources may be doing what they need to do because they've been told to via the radio. Okay, and that's where we get into the secondary piece of that. Then the first officer on the scene that night had to establish what's normal, what's not normal, pretty quickly. Okay? Meaning, you try to separate everybody, get more resources up to the top of that hill. I know that the search and rescue guys, they set their command center up there. Okay? But also as important of that in that is you have to treat that whole hill like a crime scene. If you have to shut that hill down, and that's where the officers down at the bottom of the driveway, at the edge of the Ben Hill Road, and the main road there. I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
110 Ben Hill.
What is it?
110 Ben Hill.
Yeah, that's their address. But what's um, the road that connects the connecting road to turn into Ben Hill?
I don't know.
Somebody will tell us.
Somebody will know. Oh yeah.
Yeah, somebody will know.
Oh, big time.
So they, critical time here is critical time that you've got, and statistically, by the way, in just a normal situation, Beach Creek, thank you. It may have been, even an hour, maybe 2 hours, okay, before, something, if it was a legit, situation, most parents, and we'll use that little Michael Vaughn as an example in Idaho, right? Those parents, where is he? Okay. And, here he, did his thing. And so in this, well, the where is she is in the basement. Okay. So the first thing you would want to do is say, take me to the basement. Okay? And then after you search that basement, okay, and keeping everybody out of that house, including the parents, grandmother, boys, everybody hang out on the lawn till we get another officer here. And you hold them there. The second officer responds, say, watch them, I'll be right back. And you go in, you do your thing. And then you walk out and you put a piece of tape on that door. Okay. That is a crime scene. That belongs to me, i.e., the agency. Okay. Nobody in, nobody out from this moment forward. Okay. And so that would be the protocol. Okay. And then you want to separate everybody and interview them individually. Parents first. You want to keep them there, but you want to separate them and interview them and get an initial statement. You want to lock them down. What happened? Where were you? What time? And you go to who, what, when, where, and why's. Okay. But you don't ask how. You never ask how. Okay? Because the how will show itself when you understand the whys. Okay? So, whenever I would interview somebody initially, I would ask them, so why did you come over here? Okay? Or, so why was she in the basement? Help me understand that. Okay? Uh, you see where that can go. Okay. And in between that conversation, then you can add a little, maybe a how every once in a while, like, how did she get down there? But why was she down there? Why were the boys by themselves? Where were you? Why were you there? And you'll hear me when I was interviewing Candace down at the water hole, I say a lot of okay. Okay? That's a trick. Okay? And it's learned. And it's, I've been doing it for 40 years. Right? And it's just second nature now to me. If you watch the video where Brandon is using me as the boy, I say, okay. And, he's like, doing his thing. And I'm like, okay. And then what? Okay. And then what? Okay. And then what? See, I want to confirm for him, this is his thought process. It's not mine. And that's what I was doing with her. And that's what I hope investigators did initially when they got into their head, right, as an investigation, and try not to to sink the words into their minds, but let them run on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. The first moments are awfully critical. And, there are interesting from the very moment the call goes in, which I believe,
6:23.
and that's Candace.
It's one of
Call.
them.
Well, I think, I mean, am I wrong there?
No, I don't know. I
Because
just know the first
Dawn
911 call.
Dawn says, and what Dawn says and what Dawn does are different things. But so what I found interesting from the very beginning is that dispatch calls out to the radio. We got a missing girl. She's been gone about 5 to 10 minutes. And she wandered off into the woods, or she wandered off. Mom was on a walk. Well, we know mom doesn't walk. Mom has admitted to not walking. And we know that, we know that mom wasn't walking, and that wasn't what they reported. Maybe that's what they told the dispatch, but that's not the story. Okay. So there's a discrepancy there, and one of two things happened. Somebody lied, or the dispatcher made a mistake. I'm going more with, my opinion is that somebody probably lied. So you have that very first discrepancy. Then you have a second 911 call. And I'm not sure why. Why was there a second 911 call? Why? What is the point of that, Chris? If I may, somebody already called the cops. Why a second one?
Well, I think it could be, to establish location. Okay. Let's hypothesize for a moment, right? There's only a couple of possibilities. And let's you and I just kind of throw it back and forth. And none of this has been validated yet, right?
These are our thoughts and our,
these are our opinions.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and they could be wrong.
Although the 911 calls are not an opinion, those are facts.
Those are facts. Yeah,
we'll work off of those with our opinion.
Okay. Yeah, that's concrete, right? The 911 calls concrete. Yep. Okay. So let's add some stamp to that concrete. Okay. If you want to, make it look like it's a brick, okay, then you pull out your brick stamp, and if you know what you're doing, then you stamp it on the concrete, and everybody says, "Oh, that's a brick." Okay. And then you start telling everybody it's a brick. Okay. I know it's a brick because I know it. Okay. Well, it's not really a brick. It looks like a brick. Okay. So in this case, it could be those are stamps in the concrete, and that as a result of that, now you have to build the driveway with all those bricks. Okay. And every once in a while, somebody pulls out a triangle and stamps it in the concrete and goes, "Well, that's a brick."
Right.
How many triangles have we heard? I think if we were to get I have a book that I keep notes and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, if I had a piece of paper up on the board, we got a lot of triangles, okay, who are being sold as bricks. Okay? And that's okay right now. But the challenge in that is once you get more triangles than bricks, okay, then you start seeing the whys versus the how. Okay. See, right, what we just talked about, or what I just was saying, is it's the how. Okay. Well, we have two 911 calls. Okay. Well, why? And that's where it comes in, where could somebody have been at the house and left? They leave. Okay. And why would they leave? See how powerful that question is now?
Why?
Right. And
not how.
Right. Okay. So let's hypothesize.
Because how is really not important. Why definitely is.
much more important.
How did that person leave? Well, they got in a car and left. But why did they leave? Exactly.
Bingo. Okay. So you're always going to find the how when you understand the why. You know, and that in of itself, that's how you solve crimes. Okay. When witnesses call and they say, "Hey, I just saw so and so such and such." Okay. Hey, where were you? Blah blah blah. Okay. Why were you there? Do you see how that one is? Okay.
Right.
And so let's just pretend one of the theories is that it's an accident at the water hole. Let's use that as at the water hole. Okay. Well, they can establish through video that the Walgreens is in play and the supermarket's in play. Okay. Hunter is in play verbally, okay. And you've got some peripheral stuff around him, you know, family and statements and that kind of stuff. Are they 100%? No. Okay. I mean, you know, right? You'd have to fall off a turnip truck to say, okay, yeah, good one. Okay. Right. So that piece of the puzzle. Okay. And then you have to say, in here, you got to go, okay, why is that? What's going on here? Okay. And then the other stuff starts showing up eventually. And now you go, okay, if they left there with her, who left? If it was grandma and mom and Summer, and they went back to the property, the next big question is who went where and why? So let's hypothesize. Did grandma go into the shed or into her trailer to work on her knees? We've heard work on her knees, take a nap, okay, or plant flowers. Those are three whys.
They're also completely different things.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So now you have to say, okay, now that you've got these three, which one is it? Right? What's the possibilities? Well, they're all possible, but why don't they line up if they're all probable? And so then the second piece of that is, okay, where's mom? Well, mom says she went in, got the boys, they came out, got the groceries, and did what? They went into the house and they put the groceries in the house. Okay. Her statement is for Summer, because Summer doesn't have a voice right now in this, other than others speaking for her. Summer's in the back seat. She unbuckles her and she just jumps up and wants to play with the boys. Summer just somehow is an enigma into the house. She just kind of migrates into the house, okay, initially. She's in the house. Mom decides, after having a conversation with grandma, okay, who wants to plant flowers? I do. I do. Well, the boys don't, right? She even said that. No boy wants to plant flowers. Okay.
Some do, just not most.
You know what I mean? Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And so at that point, then, that's a critical decision now. That is a critical point in this investigation because now you have this narrative of what she did from that point forward. This is Summer's narrative now. She helped grandma. She got a piece of candy. She went back in the house. She went into the basement. She's gone. That's Summer's narrative. That's her voice in this investigation. I have been focusing on that voice and asking why is this the only thing we know about this 5-year-old girl? Okay. Why is this the only information we know? when there's so many other tornadoes going on around this investigation.
It is certainly odd because the information about everything else is so abundant. Lifestyle, you know, sleuths have uncovered a lot of stuff that I'm sure Dawn and Candace and Grandis and didn't want unearthed, and it doesn't look good. You know, the fact of the matter is, whether you believe they were involved or not, it doesn't look good. Their past does not look good. And I'm sorry if people say, well, you can't judge somebody by their past. Well, I disagree. And I think that one of the first things that the law enforcement does is let's take a look at the criminal history here, because and then you go, oh, wow, this person's been in trouble for DV before. Well, could this have been a DV situation? Of course it could have. Why would you think that? Well, I'm looking at a rap sheet here that has several convictions for it, not just with one person, but 3 different people. Okay. And I get told sometimes, oh, you know, you're being judgy. I guess I am, but that is the way that the investigation has gone. If you have a criminal past, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. There's a reason why retail stores don't hire people who have had theft problems. They don't want to deal with it. Okay. That's just one of those things you go, well, I'm not going to take the chance on that. Dawn and Candace have had issues with children in the past. Grandis has had issues with children in the past, abuse. Candace, same thing. Dawn is the only one that nothing on record, but he has admitted to several things. And who else are you going to look at when you look at that? Now, I understand that bringing people into that orbit, to me, is a huge possibility, because you have dopers running around on that hill in that house. The way drug houses work, they're called trap houses, flop houses. Make no mistake, this was a flop house with 4 children in there. That's what this is, a flop house, a trap house, a drug house. And nobody's denying that. Not even Dawn and Candace. They're not denying it. So you put these children in a bad situation by doing that. But not only that, you have a history, a major history of this stuff. So now you go, can you trust these people? Well, no, you actually cannot. And we're still on June 15th. The second call's been made. Dawn's racing home. Dawn at one point says he gets there after the cops. Then it was completely bottlenecked. Then he said he got there before the cops. If he got there before the cops, that's a bad look. That's just not, there's no way he should have got there before the cops. But he has said that. But he's also said that maybe there wasn't a cop, maybe there was one. There's never a straight answer. And I get that you would be scrambled as a parent that day. But they miss every detail. They miss them all. All of them are obstructed, and my personal opinion is that's on purpose. What do you think about that?
Well, I think let's first break down the word judge. Okay. I think in an investigation, it's not a judgment, it's a probe. It's probing. Okay. Because if you think about it, when you're stopped for a ticket, the officer says, let me see your driver's license. The reason for that is to walk back to their car and probe into who's sitting in that seat. Okay. Do I have a serial killer here? Well, the only way I'm going to find out is go through NCIC. Do I have warrants? What do I have here? Who do I have? So when a child is missing and the parents report that child missing, then you have to probe. Okay? And once you get their information, this is probably what happened. They we used to call it, well, they still call it, run this person around the world. Okay? What that means is run them through NCIC, punch out their rap sheet, which, by the way, is audited. Okay, and there's a trail on it. Okay, you have to account for that rap sheet. Okay, but in this case, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office already had history with this residence through the CAD system, the computer aided dispatch. Okay? And in that residence, they had a history of the FBI, the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department, and the SWAT team hitting that house because of one DW, okay, taking them into custody. Okay? So we're not talking about, just, officer friendly here. Okay? We're talking about a known place, like you just described, where criminal activity has been occurring. And now a child has evaporated out of that known place. Okay? So to me, it would be incredibly important to probe in fact, if you could, maybe even lift somebody up by the ankles and see what falls out of their pockets. You can't, of course. I'm being sarcastic, but
I
that's the
can't.
kind of probing you want. And I see this question. Are you going to answer these? Because I don't know which one.
I'm throwing them up there. I'm highlighting some, and we'll get to them as
Yeah.
many as we can after we have our conversation. So I'm
Okay.
just kind of filtering through, throwing stuff up.
Okay.
So you just keep going, and then we'll come back to these.
Okay. I'll follow your lead.
No worries.
And so from there, right, that probing becomes extremely important once you get a history on that environment that you're dealing with. Because now you discover, all the CPS stuff, you discover all the domestic stuff, you discover, just a variety of different things that become important. And here's another thing on the judgmental concept. Okay? The day or a couple of days thereafter that this happened, remember, his stepsister came forward, not judging, okay, but probing, and said, "Hey, I was 5 years old when something happened to me. Is this related?" And she called TBI and put that into motion within a couple of days. Okay. Thank goodness that she had the courage, and her other sister had the courage to come forward, and their niece, or, Jeannie's daughter, had the courage to come forward and say, "Look, I don't know if this is anything, but can I tell you what happened to me?" Okay? And by the way, they didn't even know what the statute of limitations was when all of this came on. They did it because they wanted to probe for Summer, just in case. Okay? Well, today I think we can all be very proud of them. It kind of went the opposite direction because it became a parallel investigation. Has determined probable evidence really important to consider the behavioral analysis, victimology of any of the substance. Yes. And by the way, Maven, Grandis did not circle back with me yet. I saw your question last night, and I apologize. I wasn't able to answer it fast enough. But so I just answered it.
Does that even surprise you, though?
Not yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I definitely keep going with what you were. Or did you finish?
Yeah. So all of that information is going to fall into place, and that will fall into place with the 2 phone calls, where those cell towers are located, did they move, i.e., there's other technology that folks aren't aware of, that law enforcement has access to, and many other tools that can pinpoint a lot of things. And I know for a fact a lot of that is being done behind the scenes. And you're welcome. You're very welcome. I apologize for last night for.
She's the best, isn't she?
Yeah, they're smart, smart, smart.
There's a lot of great people in here, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I love them all. I mean, they're all great people, and this is, you see, this is what I like about what you do, Josh, because you're a class act, and everybody else is, but there's no hidden agenda here. It's about Summer. Let's find this little girl. Let's collectively put our resources together, and see what we can do. Are there crisis actors involved? I saw one of those question. I'll tell you what. If this is a play, people are going to jail. No matter what. No matter what.
Absolutely.
There's just millions of dollars of investigative resources in this, and if they can't figure out, if this is a show or not, they need to get out of the business.
Yeah, and the thing is, as for crisis actors, it's a bit of a stretch for conspiracy reasons. I understand what a crisis actor is and what they do. I wish this was all a joke and a play, but it's not. And even if there are crisis actors, Summer's missing, and that is no act. That is no baloney. There's a little kid. There's a little girl missing. I was talking to somebody that knew Summer, and this person told me that Summer was scared of their dog. She just was shy around the dog. And I was thinking, I go, and I imagined it, a little kid being scared of a dog. And she became real in that moment, because at times, and if this comes off different than I'm trying to portray it, because delivering a message sometimes through language is kind of confusing, but at times Summer feels like she's this, not mythical, but just this entity, because we had no knowledge of Summer before, when she was alive, and the only knowledge we have now is after she's been gone. So Summer, to us, she, as real as she is, and she is a real person, sometimes it's hard to nail that down, because these other people that are involved are real people. They have a voice. She doesn't. She's hasn't been heard from in 6 months. But before this, Summer was living a life. She was present. None of us knew that. None of us knew Summer. None of us know Summer. And when this person was talking to me about it, it made Summer come more to life than I had really experienced, if that makes any sense, because
Yeah.
she feels like she's an entity, and sometimes we lose track that who we're talking about and what we're talking about, the situation that we're talking about, everything that goes on in this whirlwind of just minutia. In the very center of it is a 5-year-old. So you have this enormous hurricane of just crap. And in the eye of this hurricane, there's a little girl there. We forget that a lot. And when I spoke to this person, it kind of reinvigorated my interest, let's get this thing solved. Not personally me, but whatever we can do to keep her name out there. Keeping her name out there is probably one of the most important things that we could do, because I guarantee you that Dawn and Candace and Grandis and whoever, they never expected this kind of exposure. Never. And they can thank us. Ta-da. All of us. They can thank all of us, because they probably thought that we would have dropped this and, it's not our business. That nobody's gonna, well, you struck a nerve. you struck a nerve with us, and this is where we are because summer does matter. And I feel as though the people like you, everybody in this chat, every person that has shown up here cares for this little girl that we've never met. And it's an odd bond that we all share because the public really claims her
Yep.
as their own. She's one of us. You know, can you have you ever seen anything quite like that?
Well, I mean, yes, in other cases, but with technology today, uh, not at this volume. Technology has just taken this to a different place, and you're right. She's become like others, like other children. They become America's children, and it helps. What you said was very well stated, and very wise, and because in today's world, when a child goes missing quickly, time is of the essence. And with summer, I think people have, you know, looked at themselves and said, "Oh my gosh, where are my children today?" And she has become the face of, you know, um, children like Polly Kloss did back in the day, where Elizabeth, now she's writing books and doing extremely well, and these other children, the one girl that was abducted for 8 years, and these kids are they're telling their stories. And Summer, I would hope at some point would get the opportunity to tell her story. But I mean, I'm a realist in relationship to. I think we're trying to tell her story because I think there's a side of us in humanity that says, is she really here right now? Okay. Because of the deafening tone that we're hearing coming out of that house. Okay. And I think they correlate together at some point where all of our instincts, say, okay, what can I do? How can I help? And, these things are impactful not only in the community, but, you know, when something happens uh, this profound, it becomes very significant, and where people, attach themselves to it emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And so, um, I, the last time I saw this was December 16th, 1989, with Leticia Hernandez. And, there were more causes that came out of that, and that was before any of this technology existed. And she is the result of a lot of things today, and in child safety, as well as Matthew Checky, the little boy in the bathroom. He's the result, or family restrooms are the results of that tragedy. Okay, and the list goes on with these kids. So Summer stands for, you know, I've got to do something. I think our human emotion just it forces us. It forces us to say, well, that could have been that my child? Okay. Now, obviously not in the conditions, right? And then there's that side of it too, right? Where we just want to reach out and say, "Oh my gosh, get over here. What are you doing?" Right to the people, and say, "How dare you?" You um, so it, it's it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, but it's motivating as well. But we cannot let it turn into anger,
Yeah.
where people are doing things that we may dislike something or somebody, okay, but we can't make it worse by stooping to the level of that somebody. Okay? You can't do it. That will impact Summer, in totality. It will impact her, and plus, it will clog the investigation with things that aren't needed. And that's what Lawson means when he says, this hocus pocus has got to stop.
We all have a great responsibility when we have these powerful platforms, and make no mistake about it, they are powerful platforms, and they can be used for good, they can be used for bad, but they are powerful. And I have a responsibility to my audience, just like you have a responsibility to your audience, to bring facts, to bring opinions that are educated, and not to get out of pocket. To when you're talking about these kind of cases, a lot of people tune in to watch because they relate. There's a reason that, not all, but there's a reason that a lot of people show up for Summer Wells. And the reason for that is, in one way or another, we either relate to Summer, we've had bad childhoods, we just want to help. But the consensus is children are vulnerable. It's much different than a grown person going different or going missing. It's different in the fact that usually a grown person, and not always, but usually, they can make certain choices in their lives. And sometimes when something happens to somebody, it's, well, because of the wrong choices that we've made in our lives. And sometimes it's just flat out, you're victimized for absolutely at random. And that happens as well. Summer didn't have any choice of where she went, what she ate, maybe, what she ate. She probably said, oh, I want candy or something, but where she went, who she was around, we have that choice. Okay. And we can lessen our exposure and our children's exposure to bad situations because we are adults. She had no choice of who she was raised by, who she hung out with, who was brought into her life. And it makes it frustrating. It makes it so frustrating because in my heart of hearts, and people get upset with me when I say this, and I'm not asking you to weigh in on it because I know the statistics. I don't feel as though we're looking for an alive Summer. That's just how I feel. I've felt that way for a long time. I felt that way from when Dawn sat on top of that hill with WJHL and said, I see her in a grave or a dungeon. And I'm going, this is like 10 days after she's missing. And you're going, my God. The little girl that went missing over Cleo Smith over in Australia. I didn't hear her parents saying, I think she's in a shallow grave somewhere. I see her. I mean, you just didn't get that vibe, right?
Right.
If it comes out and she is found in that condition, those words will haunt Don, and it will seal his fate if that's the way that this ends up. What do you think? What did you think when Dawn said, I see her buried? Did you think he was hinting, or is he not smart enough to not implicate himself in saying something like that?
So let's take a hypothesis. I'm going to answer that question. Okay. I'm not going to dodge your question. Okay. All right. Look at you smiling.
You can if you want.
No, I think it's important that calmer heads prevail, right? And you and I, the reason I came on your show is because you have one of those, you have that capability to keep it rational and keep it real. Okay. One of the things, let's hypothesize. One of the possibilities, right? I've always said I haven't left the house, and there's a reason for that. Let's say, hypothetically, they made it back from the swimming hole. Summer's not doing well in the car. One of the things that has bothered me, and one of the things I think we could probably help, is the pillow, the mystery pillow. Okay? Where I asked Candace that at the car, and it caught her in left field. Okay? She paused. Okay? Now, to me, standing there, I was reading her, and I have catalog, uh, a catalog. Okay? It went click. Okay, and immediately when I was writing my notes, I put that in my notes. Remember, she said that the pillow was there because her bathing suit was wet, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I asked her, "Where'd you put it? Where is it?" Okay. She gave me a generic, yada yada answer. Okay. Well, you see, that was one of those curveballs. I threw a knuckleball at her, and she didn't realize it happened. Okay. And she just took a swing, and then she swung again, and she swung 3 times. Okay. And in my book, she was out. Okay. Because she didn't have an explanation for that pillow. What she said was, pretty quickly, she looked around, and I saw her in her mind place that pillow. She goes, "Oh, well, I just pulled it out. And we went over there." Okay. Kind of like the phone. Okay. Well, how did you make the 911 call if your phone wasn't working? Well, I threw it in the back of the truck, and I got the other phone, my mom's phone. Okay. Another knuckleball. Okay. Now, why do I think that's important? At some point, she said she unbuckled her and got her out of the car. Now, the second part of that was, and she went in the house. Well, what if that wasn't really the truth? What if she got her out somewhere else, okay, and it wasn't the house? What if it was what if your husband wasn't at work that day, hypothetically, and she's not doing well from something at the swimming hole as an accident theory, and she needs to go to the hospital, but other people can't have her at the hospital because potentially Secret Life could potentially fall out into the public persona. Okay? So now we think about that. If we think about, is that a possibility? As an investigator, it's always a possibility. Because when the other side of the coin starts saying, "I have alibis," well, what exactly does that mean? Why do you have alibis? You see the power of that question now in that comment? Okay. So that's why I have not left the house. That's one scenario. Okay. The second is, did she fall down the stairs? Did she get hurt? Was it an accident? Did the boys do something inadvertently? And is this all a big cover up? Okay. Is this a cover up? I don't. And this is why the intensity of the public relations uh, game, okay, and all of the other things that come along with it. Okay? And then of course, people are good people, not all of them. And by the way, see that picture right there? That's Leticia Hernandez, December 16th, 1989. That's her. Okay, that was my girl. Okay? And I knew who did that. He was 4 doors up from her. We didn't have enough evidence to convict him. So he's still out. And he knows that I know who he is. Okay? But this is the kind of case that you asked me earlier. Well, that's her picture right there. Okay? That's her. And 99 balloons. I don't know how you got that picture, but God bless you. Okay? That and
How old was she?
huh?
How old?
She was 7. Yeah.
That's
6.
tragic.
Yeah. And so she just turned. She was 6, just turning. It was December 16th, '89. You can look it up. It was a huge case, and um, I don't want to lose my train of thought on the other situation. Where the other situation is, was it an accident, and this cover up, and people are good people, and they don't want to believe that you know that somebody could go this far, and there's no way. People did A, people did B, people did C. Okay, yet if you just look back in history and you listen to Susan Smith in Tell the World, I was hijacked, by somebody, and she drove all 3 of her kids into the water, okay, and stood there and watched it. Okay. Yet the next day, for the sake of her, you know would be boyfriend, she told the world, you know, a bunch of lies. And she's out. She's due for parole in 2024. By the way, don't let that happen in South Carolina. Are good people there, okay? But so people can't believe that. Wow, that somebody could do this. And so what they do is they want to help. And so you have a guy now who set up all their PR stuff. And I know who you are, okay? And shame on you for paying people, okay, to be disingenuous, okay? And I know who you are, okay? Trust me. And all of these other situations taking place, and then you start really saying, okay, well then what is the truth here? It's not an abduction, because you look at Wesley Dodd and we do the math on that. Would Wesley Dodd take a chance of going up on the top of that hill for a 5-year-old little girl like that? No. No.
No, that's not how those guys operate.
Right. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, and then these statements in the very beginning. So let's say she leaves the property with the child.
We'll come back to this as well.
You want me to? You want to come back to what I just said, or you want to go there?
Let's come back to that question about let's just keep going with what you were going with. Sorry.
Okay, and this is all hypothesis, right? We're just we're just chatting here. Okay. So let's say she leaves the property and she happens to meet up. Okay. Hey, it's panic mode. Okay. Handoff. And it's nothing, crazy. She's not sold. She's not, given up. She's not that. Okay. Now something happens. Okay. I've had cases where victims have been, killed or died accidentally, and friends have helped with the disposal of the body. Okay. And is this a possibility? I don't know. To me, as a open, keeping an open mind, is it out of the realm of possibility? No, it's not. Do you think it is, Josh? I mean, you're a smart guy.
Do I think that a handoff, like are you talking about a trafficking situation?
No, I'm talking about Summer needing to go to the hospital and she's not making it.
Yes.
In an accident scenario, right?
Yes. Okay. Do I believe that is? I think that's one of the more likely scenarios. My theory from day one, well, not day one, it kind of evolved over time. But my theory that I've rode with for until somebody tells me otherwise or proves something else, I don't think that she was intentionally hurt. I think that there was a million different things. There was accidents waiting to happen all over that property and just with those parents in general. I'm not surprised that a child would go missing in that situation. And I'm also not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if these people will do anything to keep their freedom, including getting rid of their daughter's body. Now, there's a lot of different scenarios along the way in between there. Like you said, well, why? Why would they do that? Are they covering something else up on top of that? The most likely scenario is an accident cover-up, but just because that's the most likely, there's a couple other that are likely as well. And like you said, as investigators work, you have to consider all the options. And I see people in the chat saying, and by the way, they're more than welcome to feel this way, because what they're saying is, well, there's no evidence that she was hurt. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that? You don't know that because no evidence has been released. In the Dylan Redwine case, the son was missing for 8 months, 9 months. A year and a half later, after they named the father a person of interest, they disclosed that they found blood. Now, in the house, large amounts of blood that matched the boy. They held on to that for a year and a half. And people were saying, well, there's no evidence that anything happened in that house. How do you know? And then people say, well, I don't think Dawn and Candace are smart enough to get away with this. Who says they've got away with anything? This is an active investigation. It's still ongoing. Just because it's been 6 months doesn't mean that they've gotten away with anything. That doesn't mean they're going to get away with anything. You don't know what they found in that house. You don't know if there is evidence of blood in that house. It could very well be the fact that they want to find Summer's body, and then they can start the clock. And maybe if they can't, they're still gathering enough to make sure they got something, very airtight. That is the most likely of scenarios, in my opinion, that law enforcement knows much more than we do. Just because you haven't seen a report of blood, they're not going to tell us that, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Well, what report though do we have, right? No, I can tell you what the report is. Okay. She vanished.
Yeah, we got a missing girl.
What more do you need? I mean,
well, people want forensics.
Well,
they want the forensics department to turn over what they have.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
That ain't going to happen. Right?
Because, Chris, is it possible that there is evidence of foul play in that house?
There could be, yeah.
But why would they tell us that? They wouldn't.
They wouldn't, yeah.
Right. So when people are saying, but there's no, there's no evidence of violence or this or that or the cadaver, they're not going to tell you what the cadaver dogs know either, or what they're giving you or us as little information to keep this investigation moving and to keep pressure off of them so they can continue to do their job. They release the frequently asked questions list, and they don't know. You're assuming that there's no evidence. Don says, well, they ain't got no evidence. He doesn't know that either. He's hoping they don't have any evidence. But I see that a lot. I see people say that a lot, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they've said like, oh, look, there's a hole in the wall and there was blood found. They're not going to tell you that. They're looking for Summer, and they're going to hold everything they have back as far as they can. And people say, well, why aren't they arrested because of negligence? Like you, and I asked you the same thing, Chris, and they could jam these people up on a million different things right now if they wanted to, but they don't. Why? Because it starts the clock. And you told me that.
Bingo.
And I said, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. What do you want these people in trouble for? Child neglect or murder? What do you want them in jail for? Drugs or manslaughter or trafficking? Or look, it's chess, not checkers. They're going for it all at first. And if they can't get there, there are other things that they can fall back on. And I do believe with all my heart that Don and Candace, in one way or the other, are going to be in trouble for something. I don't know what it is. Neglect at minimum, murder in the worst case scenario. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff in between, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the list goes on. I think we can all rest assured in 100% confidence that this is a fluid, active investigation. There is no doubt in, I hope everybody's mind. It may be frustrating,
It
to
is.
wait 6 months, but I don't think there's a time limit in relationship to, what it's going to take. There is no statute of limitations ever. If it turns into something other than just, some are missing. The most interesting press release that came out recently mentioned, towards the end, foul play.
Sure.
Well, that was on slide 2 that I presented last night.
Was that an accident?
Well, no, because
Of course not.
I've trained law enforcement. I didn't train them, but I've trained thousands of law enforcement officers all around the country how to handle these cases. And, I used to, before the Cold Case Foundation, I was with the Institute of Investigative Science. And it now turned into the Cold Case Foundation, but I've been with those guys since '98, even active when I was on duty. So we've just continued to maintain that piece of the puzzle. And so in this situation, that verbiage, to answer your question, I'm sorry, was no, that's not by accident.
Right.
That's strategic, to plant those two words out there. Okay.
We call that the shot across the bow.
Right. I mean, it's not by accident that you see it on a slide
Right.
used in law enforcement training, and then now you see it in a press release, used about a missing 5-year-old little girl. I don't think that's, coincidence, but you know, I don't think they knew I was going to put that up last night, and I didn't know they were going to put it in the press release. Okay, so, but they did correlate. And so that's, I think if we keep moving forward, we press the right buttons, okay? Because this show tonight will get a response. Okay? Because the PR guy just heard me say that. Okay? And so that's exactly what I want to see is the response. Because this is exactly what we need to see. We need to see the responses on this, okay, about what we're talking about here. We need to see all the people jump in, because I learn more about this case sometimes watching the chats, okay, than I do talking to other people, because it gives me the whys to go ask, other people, okay? And it's going to be really interesting in the next, I would say, the next 45 days.
Yeah. Yeah. It does feel like there is, without it, just from the releases themselves, like you said, it does feel like the case is moving forward. And yeah, it could be at a snail's pace. What my other opinion of this case, and correct me if I'm wrong or you disagree, I feel that law enforcement is operating under the assumption that Summer Wells is deceased and that time is no longer of the essence, that they have time to put this case together. Because if you were say put you in, as you say, you were the lead investigator, right? And you're 6 months in now. Would that how you would be operating?
Yeah, I mean, time is of no.
It was June 15th.
Right. It's unlimited now.
Right. And that is a sad thing, though. It
Yeah,
really is.
but now you're looking at all of the technology evidence, and now you're deciding, okay, do I do, a geo profile on this stuff? what are points of interest in relationship to the victimology and the suspectology? What is they're into the eighth filter. Okay, there are 10 filters. Okay? They're into that play now, where it's like, okay, we know what we have, i.e., we know who the players are. We've got all of this other stuff. Okay, Starlink or whatever the deals are. Okay, now let's try to figure out you know where we're going and why we're going there. And then once we get there, we have to make sure that the DA is on board, and we have to make sure that there is enough here to make this stick in a court of law. Okay, but that's just one train. Remember, I've always said there's two trains. Okay, that first train is for potentially two people, and the second train is for one person. Both of those trains can simultaneously run down the block at the same time, and quite frankly, all the other craziness going on around it, they may just get in the boxcar at some point as well.
The thing about this case is it's unlimited. We could talk about it literally for 10 hours.
Yeah,
longer,
months.
There's just so much, and
Yeah.
we can, but there are some questions that I have started, and that maybe we can share our insight. And let me bring one up here. It's maybe you can answer this question. Go ahead. So the question is, how long does a body have to be deceased before a cadaver can pick up the scent?
An hour, less than that.
Really? Wow.
Because once the heart stops beating, the body starts decomposing and it starts putting off gas.
So that's pretty fast. Okay, that's
rigor will, or livermore or lividity will set in 2 to 4 hours. It will be full set in 12 hours. Yeah. And then you'll start seeing rigor, and rigor will last for 24 hours.
Now, I don't know the answer to this, but I'll ask it. Isn't it true that Candace refused to talk with Ellie the night of the incident? I don't know the answer to that. Chris, do you?
I've heard that she was in the house and did not want to go out. But I don't know. What she told me is she wasn't doing well that night. And even the next, couple of days when she went down for the first polygraph, she couldn't do the first polygraph. That's how she played it off. She said, I didn't pass it. And so she played it off of that, but she said she passed the second one.
Which also, it would be understandable if somebody is so distraught about look, you're going to want to help, but you could be that distraught. I'm not saying that that's the case with her, but in reality, I could see that. Not a huge red flag to me. It is now, knowing Don and Candace, but initially it wouldn't be. But then you get the benefit of hindsight, and you go, well, maybe there was more to it. Maybe she wasn't just so upset. Maybe, but that's speculation, or as we like to say here on the lab, speculation. Let's see. I got this one. I think she told dispatcher she walked to mom's trailer. Dispatchers can get things wrong. Dispatchers can get things wrong, but that's a crucial piece of information if she either walked off or she just disappeared. Okay. If the dispatch would have said that Candace was on a walk, when Candace didn't say that she was on a walk, maybe that person doesn't need to be a dispatcher, because that's kind of a big piece. I'm not saying that she couldn't mess it up. That could happen. But who are you going to believe? Who do you think is a little more in the right state of mind? The dispatcher that does this every day, or Don and Candace. I go with the dispatcher. Go ahead.
And let's think about that a little bit deeper, right? And Dar, thank you for that question. That's a great
It
question,
is a great
or,
question.
and a great response. But if that dispatcher did make that mistake, guess who's living that mistake every single day for the last 6 months? That young
Yes,
lady who came on the radio. So let's pray that she didn't make a mistake for her sake as well. They're good people.
absolutely. It's a tough job, and time is of the essence. Right then and there, we just talked about time is no longer a factor. At that time, time was a huge factor, and mistakes are made. I'm going on the impression of I just don't understand where she would get that mom was on a walk. I just don't understand where she would get that from, especially since Candace says, well, she doesn't go walking. Makes sense to me. But Dari, thank you so much for that. Let's see. The lab. Is it possible that no arrests have been made to date because Summer's case representing uncovering a much larger group of criminals than just the inner circle of suspects? Chris, I'll let you get a shot at that one.
It could be. I talked to some folks who are involved in the ICAC teams up there. You know, there was a new ICAC team that was put together, and it's a human trafficking team as well. Right, actually, just after she went missing, so it wasn't related to her. And this was when some of the other bigger East Tennessee busts went down. But again, a coordinated effort like this, it had to have somebody that was familiar with the property. And I don't think a transaction like that would take place up there. I think it would take place off of that property, for the very reason why we may not be finding her on the property or in the geographic region.
Patsy Cline, and that, by the way, is clever. And by the way, I have the best of Patsy Cline on vinyl. It says the interview room. We Hoosiers could use your experience in the Delphi case. Coming on 5 years now. Thanks for working on Summer's case. The Delphi murders are one of the most confusing cases, because you have a crime scene location, you have digital evidence, you have all kinds of but nothing seems to quite fit. What do you have a short opinion? I know that's off topic, but are you following that case at all?
I'm not necessarily following it in totality, but I think that Klein guy's in the play.
He was definitely a scary gentleman, and
let's see how that flushes out with him.
It's going to be interesting. And by the way, they are working on it. Let them work on it. That sheriff, I watch him. I've listened. And by the way, if you are interested in the Delphi murders, go check out the Down the Hill podcast on Spotify. It's fantastic. It's a 10 episode, and it is so highly produced. And those people are so smart, and they've packed everything in that you could ever want to know about that case, up until they just released new episodes because of the new information. They are working on it, and hopefully that gets solved and justice is served. My uncle the other day, I told him, I said, I'm getting ready for a show, because he was wanting to talk to me. And I said, well, I don't have time. I got a show. He goes, oh, what's the show on? And I said, Summer Wells. And he goes, still on that? I said, yeah, she hasn't been found. And he says to me, in all seriousness, he goes, what do you want out of it? And I kind of looked down, and I was thinking, and I said, I want whoever did this to pay for it. And that's it. That's what I want. I want who's responsible for this to pay the ultimate price, because Summer didn't deserve this and doesn't deserve this. My goal, like everybody else's, is to watch somebody get the perp walk all the way down, and I'll feel great about it. And I will be sad because all these cases eventually come to an end one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But all I want is whoever did this to be held responsible. And that's why we're here. That's why we are here. Let's go ahead.
Thank you, Catsy.
Yeah, Cats has absolutely.
Name, man.
It really is. And by the way, Patsy Cline is fantastic as well. Okay, so Wet My Planties. Another great name. Back to back. Michael Jordan 96-97 here. Question for Chris. Between C and H's interviews with you, there are 2+ hours after dropping Grandis off and getting to H. Do you feel that time is important?
Absolutely. Timeline doesn't line up.
Not even a little.
Not even a little.
And there's a lot of lost time. Tons.
Yeah.
Well,
at least potentially 3 hours.
Yeah, if not even a little bit more. I mean, but yeah, at least, like you're saying, we're talking at the least. Crime and Justice asks, do you think there's any truth to Dawn saying that TBI said they knew he sold her for drug money? I didn't know that was said by TBI. Do you think there's any truth to Dawn saying that TBI said? I don't even know if TBI said that. I don't think they did. Did they?
If Dawn said that,
who cares what Dawn says?
But if he said that, okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Do you think he's capable of that, in all honesty? Because now, before you answer that,
capable of what?
Selling her for drugs. That is a far stretch from an accident cover-up. And as both of them are terrible in nature, one is absolute devil, scumbag, degenerate behavior, and one is just absolute degenerate behavior. They're all bad, but it is a far jump, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Dawn's past indicates that he does like to take stuff and sell it, but that's when he's on, like, just jonesing, as they say, right? He's just out there, crunching the needle, cracking the pipe, as we used to call it, chasing the pipe, chasing the needle. Okay. Now, if he's going through withdrawals or something to that effect, because of the other potential addiction problems, I've seen everything in terms of what people are capable of doing. All right. Is it out of the possibility of, the realm of possibility? I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know.
Well, what do you say to the people in the chat saying, well, he tried to sell his other kid?
Well, and that's firsthand information from people that were there, around the table when he came back without the kids. He left his 2 kids in, the person's house where he was copping dope. And then the other time he was, on the street corner on a Sunday with a sign saying, baby for sale.
Well, the short answer to that is, by his past, sure, it sounds like he is capable of it. Did he do that? That's different.
Right. Again, that goes into the category of maybe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, how many people have sat on a corner trying to sell their kid, forget them at a drug addict's or forget them at a drug dealer's house, and then because they're so spun, that's not a normal day.
Right.
And but it could be for Dawn and Candace.
Right. And his other problems, he's got a built-in, control situation there.
Right.
So there's no need for it.
Says the lab. Josh and Chris, question please. Is it illegal to bug someone's house in crimes like this? Anyone's, not necessarily parents. You have to have a warrant signed off on by a judge. It is illegal to bug anybody's house without said warrant. So do we know? Could this be playing out? Are there bugs? I don't know, but you'd have to get it signed off on by a judge. Is that correct, Chris?
Correct. Yep. You answered it.
And other than that, you can't do it. Why do you think law enforcement is letting all these people come down here? Is it elite? Is illegal investigation? That, Chris, I'll let you answer that. But the answer is it's not really illegal, but it's annoying.
Correct. Yeah, it's again, I like to use the terminology, the gift that keeps on giving. Remember, they're watching both sides of this scenario unfold. And that's really important because you're watching behavioral evidence as a whole potentially, and you're seeing what comes of it. Let's see what happens.
Absolutely. Just a couple more here, Chris.
That's all right.
Let's see.
I see 39. Oh, how did you get this thing to say start over here? You're gonna have to tell me that after.
Okay, yeah, you can go and click on ones that you want to go back to.
What?
We'll have a conversation.
All right, go ahead.
Somebody says here, I got tons of why questions, just can't get anyone to answer them. That's not a question, that's a statement. Moving on. How many 911 calls did she vet that day? Once again, I don't know. Are you talking about the dispatcher? They take calls all day, every day. That's their job. Why was grandma acting mad about an orange soda? Grandma is an enigma in this case, and I believe she's much more either involved or knows much more than she's telling. And the reason I say that is because of her past behavior. I'll just flat out say this, and I hate talking about any grandma that way. She hasn't always been a Cub Scout. She hasn't always been on the up and up. I'm sure as time goes on and people get older, they mellow a little bit, but that's still in that person. Her criminal history is as long as a roll of Charmin toilet paper, brand new. I mean, it's long and it's violent in nature. And I have a 78-year-old grandmother who has, I don't know, maybe she got a DUI in 1950. And that's when, they gave you a sandwich and locked you up, and that might be about it. It's not normal. Would you say that, Chris?
Yeah. Remember when cousin Eddie showed up at Griswold's house, and they're standing around the Christmas tree with the moose cup, and they're drinking, and he's drinking eggnog with the see-through sweater and stuff, and he starts talking about his kids, graduating, and Clark goes, "Oh, college?" He goes, "No, carnival." Okay.
Yeah.
And he hits the thing, right? Okay. She's now barking for the yak lady. Okay. And the little ones, pitching pixie dust around the tilt-a-whirl. Okay. That's grandma. Okay.
Yeah.
And
there's something going on there. She's a piece of this puzzle. What kind of a piece, we don't know. I mean, but she was with Summer the day that she went missing. That tells you all you need to know, that she is a part of this and knows much more. And by the way, she ain't talking to nobody. That her and Candace, after you had your interview with Candace, she shut it down. She shut it down in a major way. And why do you think that is? Well, some say she's had problems because of, Rose. Maybe she doesn't want to relive these painful moments. Or some might say she's the common denominator here, along with Candace. And guess what? Dawn is and will always be capable of just kind of being the man, the muscle, what we got to do. Unfortunately, that, to me, it says that she knows much more than she's letting on. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're proud to say as a CCF, we're helping on some things behind the scenes in Wisconsin. I'll just leave it there.
And what great news that is, Chris, honestly. And
we've injected some resources that they've asked for.
I mean, and that is a police department asking for the Cold Case Foundation's help. So I want people to realize that we're not just up here just yapping. There are resources being put out there to help active cases. And there are people like Chris and his group that are making a difference while other people aren't. I mean, these are real. And by the way, the Cold Case Foundation produces results. They really do. It's a fantastic organization. And God bless you guys for I mean, you're doing the Lord's work. You really, really are. Let's see here. Here's another. We always go back to this. We haven't heard the original night. That to me, because a lot of times that's one of the first things to be released is, and eventually, guys, we will hear this eventually. I don't know when, but it's going to happen. And I think that there are keys in this, in those, because if there's 2 phone calls, it will be damning to hear the 2 different ones. Yeah, that's right. Get it ready. I can't either, because think about that. 2, I still will never understand, why did it take 2 phone calls? Why is Don? Oh, I get it. Hey, I called the cops, guys. Come on. Who called the cops? Candace did. And then somebody say, well, why didn't you? Well, the simple answer is Candace did. I was coming home. Don wants to cover his own butt. He's always been about that. Well, I have 7 alibis. Candace ain't got none. She's going down.
Not only that, we've got this FaceTime conversation taking place, while driving. And, one's looking for Summer and the other one is, driving, and they're looking at each other, talking. Okay. And the first place he goes, rather than go up to the house, is he drives to the shed. Okay. But that was his first statement was, well, when I got there, I beat the police. Oh, and I said, what? And he goes,
that stood out to you right away, didn't it?
Oh yeah, because that doesn't happen when you're 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
You can't outrun the radio. They have patrol sectors for a reason. They have a deputy in that area for a reason.
Responding officer, I'm nearby. I got it.
And by the way, the 911 protocol nationwide is 6 minutes response time. You have to be on location in an emergency. And tell me why that is, do you think?
Say that again. Why do you have to be on call for?
No. Why do you think 6 minutes is the time?
I really don't know. I've never thought of it.
Because you'll bleed out in 6 minutes.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Every situation, the threshold is 6 minutes. You can ask any dispatcher in the world.
That makes sense.
So if you're Don and you say you're driving 40 minutes and you beat the cops, okay, well, you just beat them by 34 minutes. Okay. And that ain't happening in today's world.
And if it did happen, you got a major problem with your timeline.
Yeah, your brain.
Which, by the way, they do.
Our nurses chime in here. They'll tell us.
By the way, they do have a major problem with their timeline, Chris, because they say they called it 5:30 or 5 or 5 something. That is almost an hour after 2 phone calls came in. Something happened. Obviously, this is that's a dull statement to say. Something happened between 2:00 and 6:00 that day. So that to me, that's about a 4-hour, right? That's 4 hours. Can you talk really quick about the behavior that was going on? Are you allowed to discuss that? If not, we can just blow right past it, honestly.
Yeah, let's come back to it. But you and I think, can both agree that that is a really long time. And I think all of us can agree that is a very long time. And even if we knocked it down to 40 minutes, which I did a thing on a while ago, just 40 minutes in of itself, that's more than enough time to do whatever somebody would have needed to do.
Right. I mean, that is
Well, let's just put that's 4 hours, right?
a staggering amount.
Okay, that's 4 hours, right? That 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 time frame, 2 to 6. Okay?
Mm.
That's 2 trips back and forth for a total of 4 to Don's work, just as an example. Okay? In that time frame, you can drive from their house to the construction site and back again and back again. Okay? And still say I was at work. Okay? Also, you only have to do it once.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the critical time frame is going to be then of what Walgreens shows them in the store, and then Sonic, then the grocery store, then home.
Question, Chris. How do you interpret TBI's statement with extra emphasis via adverb? There's a very real possibility Summer walked off. Well, they also, sorry, Chris, I'll let you answer that, but they also balance that out with, something else. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're checking the boxes, and that's what a PIO is supposed to do. Then they put the nail in the end of it, though. There could be foul play as well. So what they did is this. Okay, they left it ambiguous.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, there you go.
Salt and pepper of answers. Salt
It's a
and pepper of
that's a
statements.
good PIO right there. That statement was written by a behavior scientist at the BAU.
Because then people start going, they're really not ruling anything out. Because I'll tell you what that statement says. Nothing. It's nothing.
Exactly.
It's a nothing statement, but it is a something statement. But to them, it's a nothing statement. It's something that they can release, and people will go, "Wow, let's think about that." And they're going, "That'll."
You know how those things go? You're sitting around, right? And somebody says, "We got to say something." Okay. Okay. So how do we say nothing?
Go get me the cards that the behavior analysis.
Let's say nothing. Yeah.
You're never too young. You're never too. No, that's not going to work. Yeah.
So that they talk about it on the lab.
Yeah, that way we can have something to talk about, right? It's just it's nothing more than, like you said, it's like go and go get a statement ready.
Yeah.
The one that we have pinned on the wall that we use all the time. Yeah, we'll use that one. And but you know what? It works. And there's a reason it works, because people are asking us about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, Dawn and Candace, you don't think that they heard that loud and clear?
They're reading this going, okay, she could have walked off, but she could have been hurt.
Oh, damn. we were doing good.
What are we going to say?
Right.
Put it on the website.
It's a non-statement. There was one more here. Let me see if I can find it. There was one. Okay, here it is. What do they mean when they say no to date? And I know what they mean basically, but what it says is there's no evidence of an abduction. What does exactly that entail? What does that mean? And how do you come to the conclusion that there's no evidence of an abduction? And to you, does that mean, dude, guys, she wasn't abducted?
So what a statement that powerful from the authorities. Okay? If you think about the resources and the amount of time, money, tools, all of the great things that they have access to, aircraft, etc., right? And the list goes on. Right? If we think about how much effort has been put into this case, if there was evidence of an abduction, if there was anything, okay, anything that was credible in nature, then the first thing they would come out and say, we have discovered there's a high probability that Summer was abducted. Okay. And let me give you a perfect example. The boy in Idaho. The chief has already come out and said there is a high probability that he could have been abducted. Okay. He's 5, and they're not waiting. They're not waiting. Okay. And so I got to start my car real fast. If what you're seeing here, okay, is them coming out wanting to say, okay, hey, we're looking for this reason. Okay? But what they're doing is they're playing tennis and they're hitting it back over the net to say, you say there's an abduction, but we're not seeing it. And at some point that will play out. I'm not going to say where. At some point that's going to play out when it's necessary. So um, now you keep the other things on the table. Could she have walked off? Okay, let's tell them. Yeah, she could have walked off. Okay, because we're not seeing evidence of an abduction.
Well, she's never walked off before.
Right. Could it be foul play? Yep, it could be foul play because we're not seeing evidence of an abduction. You see how that all bounces against it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So that's where their focus is, and rightfully so with the people involved in this. Uh, you know, because they're good. The card team, the feds, TBI, their sheriff's department has a lot of resources, and they're not sleeping on this. That's for sure. Go ahead.
No, they're absolutely not. Just a couple more here, and it says, ask Chris if he's seen the text where Candace confirmed Dawn was at home between 3:30 and 4. What would that mean for the case? By the way, it was reported to TBI. I'll ask Chris that. I have no knowledge of it, but if he was home at 3:30, 4 o'clock, I mean, what else can you say except not surprised?
Yeah, I mean, I've not, to answer the first part, I've not seen the text,
Neither.
but it wouldn't surprise us. It wouldn't surprise me. Well, I don't think it would surprise you, Josh, based on some of the conversations we've had,
Not at all.
that, you know, he potentially could have been there, which puts into play that conversation we were having earlier as a possibility on the board. Maybe he left and was out when they came home. One of the things that's always bothered me is when he made the phone call to Candace and asked the question, when are you coming home? Okay. And Hunter caught that. Now, this is one of the minutia pieces of the pie, okay? But for Hunter just to say, well, he was asking about when she's coming home, and then he gives the statement about, the other stuff, okay? Well, that's the kind of spontaneous, statement that is not thought through. It just happens. Okay? And then you add on to that the boys, there's been a couple of reports that the boys were at work with him. I think that is a possibility too, because why would you leave your boys locked in, nobody out, quote unquote, okay, and then take off with Grandish and Summer and go to the water hole, pick up Hunter, go to the store, come home, yada yada. Okay, so they're still in that gray area of possibility. It's pretty interesting.
Absolutely. It said my super chat said Dawn started with abduction. A few days later, he said he would meet Summer in the resurrection. Happy Sabbath, brother. And why was the car seat wet if they changed Summer? Well, the reason Dawn starts off with anything is because it's the first thing that pops into his pea brain. Then after that, he gauges reaction, and then he alters what he feels will bring him the least for lack of a better term, crap his way, scrutiny. And so Don has accused Chris McDonough of this being in some grand conspiracy with his evil stepsisters. It's everybody but me. Don't look at me. Look to Chris. Look to my stepsisters. Candace is going down. I got 7 alibis. Happy Sabbath, brother. He says whatever comes into his little pea brain. What say you, Chris? And please feel free to be eloquent about it.
Well, yeah, we'll let Don, just eat that one to, it's going to be a happy meal one day. And so far as, the other situation, I am really proud of, Jeannie and Mary and all of those other victims that have come forth as a direct result of Don saying stupid stuff like that.
Let's see, Josh, you've been on that list too. Yeah, when I interviewed him, it's true. He said, because I said, well, how would I know? And then, him being the star debater that he is, says, well, how do I know you didn't? Well, I guess if you need to check my alibi, it's a pretty good one. I was in California at the time, and you weren't, and she's your daughter. But he was just being a jerk in a way. That's how he is. He's just And by the way, I've seen people who flip on a dime, their attitude. I've never seen somebody flip on a penny, because his whole life has been, if you're saying what he likes, you start hearing this, okay, all right, okay, all right. And then when you challenge him, he says, you're getting a little, MF, or you're getting a little, that, and that's when that starts, that craziness. As long as you're on his side, he's good with you. And once you challenge him in any way that he could possibly be involved in the disappearance of his daughter, which, like people have said, he's put a sign around him trying to sell other kids. How dare us even bring that thought up, Chris? Well, sorry, buddy. I mean, your track record speaks for itself, and he has a terrible track record. I mean, that's just the facts.
And this is the season of giving. Hopefully, he continues to give. And,
keep talking, but keep giving it.
The reality is, again, I think we've always offered it. Our platforms are available. Love to even talk to you 6 months later.
Sure.
Come on up, chat away. Let's see what we can do to help find Summer. In fact, send your PR guy. I'd be real curious why he's involved. I have a standing invitation to the PR guy to come on. And Josh, we could do it on your show. That'd be great.
We can do it anywhere.
Well, we'll do it anywhere, but I'd love to have him, come on out. We can talk photography and a couple other things, and would love to hear your opinion about, Sandman and a couple other things,
And you know what? And that's the thing. Like, so there is an open invitation to Mr. PR guy. Feel free to reach out. My email's at the bottom, and let us know if you want to come talk. Usually, those kind of those kind of invitations are ignored, but trust me, we'll give you a fair shot. We're not nobody's sandbagging. It'll be respectful. I mean, you're gonna have to answer some tough questions that we're gonna have, but you're a PR guy. You should be able to handle it. That's what you do. Come talk to us. And I would love to be a part of that, because why do they have a PR guy? And is he even really a PR guy? Like, or is he somebody who's just throwing money around trying to get people to shush?
There you go.
it goes back to the church. I'm not saying, and I want to make this clear. I'm not saying that Summer's disappearance goes back to the church. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this man has an agenda. What agenda is it? Oh, I don't know. Dawn and Candace seem to have a lot of property. Maybe this guy is the next Jim Jones. Who knows? But he's got an agenda. Okay. And why don't you come tell us what that agenda is? Chris, it was so good having you. What a great time. We got a lot discussed, answered a lot of questions. You are always welcome. And you're one of the best in the business, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
You're very kind, Josh, and what a class act. Not one crazy word tonight. And look how much we got done, right? I mean, I respect you for inviting me on here. Thank you. You took a chance, and I hope I was able to, have people hit that button for you. And that this is what it's about. We can have conversations. I mean, and just keep it classy and above board. And I think we can change some of the perception of some of this, other stuff going on out there. The fact that you're respectful to women, to victims, to families, as well as other folks. I think that's what it's about. They deserve it. They've been through enough. And, we always need to remember that the majority of our audiences here, come from a background that's like you, that you have been helping to heal people. And I'm just going to say it, but, a guy like you that's been there, done that, witnessing what you went through as a kid with your mom, and those of you from my channel that don't know it, can I say it?
Sure.
Can I ask your permission?
Absolutely.
So Josh was a young man, and he witnessed his father, and his sister was there as well, take the life of his mother. And through a domestic violence situation that carried him, obviously impressionable through the system for a little bit, and then ultimately to his grandparents, where he was raised, and they put in him this value system that you're seeing tonight. And so he comes from the heart, and I know, our other brother over there comes from the heart with his own experiences. I love you guys both. If I can get him, to tone it down a little on the jar, Dougie, I love you to death, but put a bucket up there. Don't throw a jar up there, okay, buddy? Please, for not only my viewers, but for everybody. And you guys are hysterical together, and so you're a stand-up guy. Thank you very much for the invitation here, and I'll let you wrap it up with your audience.
All right.
Guys and gals, thank you so much. All my people, in terms of our family and our friends, they're not my people, they're just friends.
They are.
Please hit that subscribe button over here and light it up for him. Let's get him up to 10,000 quickly. That would be pretty amazing. Maybe even 20 or 30. Let's see how fast we can do it. So
tell Karen and Dylan I said hi, and thank you for giving us some of your time, Chris.
Merry Christmas. God bless. Aloha.
Aloha.
See ya.
Well, there it was. The lab, the interview room, collision course. What a great time. What a great show. What a great guest. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Subscribe over to No Thanks Investigates and the interview room if you have not. Thank you for all the super chats, the super stickers, and questions, and new members. Thank you. Also, please subscribe. It is free to subscribe. It is free to subscribe. And as we leave here, please head over to No Thanks Investigates. We'll be going live as soon as we cut off here to follow up. Once again, from everybody here at the lab, No Big Deal Productions, the interview room, No Thanks Investigates, Crime Stories Obsessed, Emma. Thanks a lot, guys. You guys are special. One of the best shows we've ever had. Thank you so much. Take care.